You've got a picture of the cultural movement behind you?
Ah, yeah, that's my background
Yeah,
wallpaper.
I remember it well.
Yeah, and because I'm rapping with you today, that's why I picked this specific picture.
Those are the days I remember.
Yeah, it's good. It's real sharp. You notice, because this is on the stage at the library before they turn that stage into like a storage room.
Oh.
It sure is. Yeah, Margaret. This is the stage.
I hate to hear that.
Yeah. Where that, because I saw it when we did your the poetry. Was the poetry 1A?
Yeah, we did a thing at the library. The last thing we did.
That was. And I noticed they turned that stage. Where the stage was is a storage room now. And this
that
is
hurts. That just hurts.
Man, I thought you knew that, Mrs. B, even when we were there.
I didn't realize it.
It used to be a stage because that's where this picture is. His group is on the stage. That space now is a storage room in the auditorium at the library.
And they're in the white garments that I first met Ray and you in. Everybody was wearing all white.
Yes.
What do you call the Jews call a skull cap? What do they call that little white cap?
You know, it's called different things depending on your culture. I know Dad, an African dance company, used to call them kufis.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great word, kufi.
Kufi, yeah. And because of the religion Dad was involved in, and you know, he was also Catholic. You know, the white was like important color. Mm-hmm.
But then when the dancers would come out, they were multicolored.
Exactly, they had more of the
very colorful.
Mm-hmm. These were good times, and even I have some pictures I'm going to show in the interview, and you know, should bring back memories for you. And a lot of them that I have of the company, they're in the library because I thought it'd be interesting. You see what the library looked like then. You're going to see like the stage and everything. So it's going to okay, Miss B, let's rock and roll. Well, everybody at home, if you don't know Margaret Boothe-Baddour, you're going to know her today. She was a great friend of my father's, Raymond, Mac, Hurrey, also known as Nilaja with The Last Poets. And that's what this whole kind of mini series of interviews is about, the world learning who my father was, Raymond Hurrey, past The Last Poets. My father had this whole life.
Whole nother life.
Whole nother life, which is really amazing. He moved from New York to North Carolina, to Goldsboro, North Carolina, of all places, where my mother's mom and dad are from. And my father met Mrs. Baddour, Margaret Boothe-Baddour, and kind of hit it off in this artistic relationship. And so we have Margaret here today, and we are honored. What's up, Margaret?
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I met Ray, and then I met you.
Yeah.
So you've both been important in my life.
And it's an honor. You've done so much for, you know, my family, starting with Dad, and still even today, like our family's our family. And I think it's really amazing that you had a chance to work with my dad in an artistic professional life. And then when I got older, you kept me working, and then we became kind of like colleagues. So we appreciate you, Margaret. The world, the community.
You know, it's interesting that that I have done a lot of the same things with you that I did with him, going out in the schools and teaching. I think of him most of all as a teacher, because he taught me all about the African instruments, and then we would go out in the schools and he would tell the kids about it. Of course, they were fascinated, you know.
Yeah. How was, you know, and I'll start with a little bit about your background so we know, and I'll help you along. But speaking about that, it's funny you said Dad was a teacher, because I swear, Margaret, like I say in the past 7 years or so, I've kind of embraced that. You know, I love
Not
performance, I love
surprised.
acting, I love the arts. But my mom used to always tell me too, yo, you're a teacher, you know, period. You know.
It's
And
a gift too, a great
it's a
gift.
skill. And I'm lucky, I think to hear you say that about dad, and with me not with him passing away at an early age, it's kind of cool to hear. It's like it was passed on genetically or spiritually, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But how was dad when he was working with the kids? Like, did he have like energy, or
he had so much charisma. I bet everybody on this program, on this series, has already said that, but he was loaded with charisma, and it drew people to him, and loved explaining and bringing people out through his art and artistry. And I think that is truly a gift.
Yeah. Tell us about you, Margaret, your background, whatever you want to share. And I know that's very broad, but maybe hit on points, your involvement with the Arts Council, how you got to Goldsboro, all that great stuff, whatever you want to share.
Well, I don't know how great some of it is, but I will say this: my whole life, looking back on it, has been involvement in the arts, and the arts in a broad arts and humanities way, arts and culture. And then specifically, I'm a writer. I've had several books published by St. Andrews Press, and that's poetry. And I'm working on the never-ending novel that I've started on decades ago, but maybe I'll still make it.
Exactly.
And the other thing, as you know, is that I've been involved in theater for years, and one of my degrees is theater arts, along with my English and all that, English education, all that. And when I was teaching at Wayne Community College, I directed plays on the side, you might say. Yeah. And we did about 2 a year, and got to do some really good stuff because we had control over what we picked, so that our students got to see some and be in some really good plays.
And I was
honored. You were in one of those. Yeah. You were the robber bridegroom.
Bridegroom, classic, you know, bluegrass. And I didn't think
bluegrass
I would
on bluegrass. Stage.
It was awesome.
Yeah. We had the band on stage. It was so much fun. And of course, you had the title role with the felt hat and the feather in it.
And it was a fun show.
Crazy show. But so I got to direct you, which was a treat. And then more recently, we've done some readers theater and worked kind of together, but I pull it together and that sort of thing. So that has been the direction my life has taken, the arts, theater, writing, so on.
Now, what brought you to Goldsboro?
I was interested in getting into the Arts Council movement across the United States. And I was a newspaper reporter in Burlington, which is about the size of Goldsboro, you know. Okay. And I heard that
Burlington by Greensboro and all that area. Okay.
That area. Well, and I'm from Greensboro anyway, but I heard that there was a position in Goldsboro, but of course I had designs on going to a big city and being the Arts Council director, but you got to start somewhere. So I came down here, got that job, and that's what I was doing when I met Ray. And you were 3 years old.
And that's a great segue. Let's transition into that. So that's good. Greensboro, newspaper reporter. For some reason, I missed that, and just all our.
Well, when you're in your 20s, you do a lot of different jobs, and I guess segue is a good word. Just segued from teaching to newspaper reporter to Arts Council director, and so.
What did you go to, Margaret?
I'm sorry?
Your degrees. What school did you go to? What university?
I went to Stevens College in Missouri for theater arts, then Carolina in Chapel Hill, and switched over to what I thought was more practical, probably was, which is English education. And then I stayed for graduate school at Chapel Hill and got this MAT degree, Masters of Arts in Teaching. similar to, you have MFA degree, right?
Right. I have the MFA, and you have the MAT, Master of Arts Teaching.
Of Arts and Teaching English Education.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't know those details, or if I did, it slipped my mind. How did you meet? So you spoke about, okay, you saw me when I was 3, you saw Dad. Tell that story, all your great visuals. Tell about the moment you met Dad.
It's almost, I'm thinking like some kind of one of the Greek myths or something, like where you discover the father and the son, and they were in the park at Herman Park, and I was the arts council director, walking around checking on things, just enjoying the day, Sunday in the park. And over there under the big oak trees were 3 people dressed in white, all white, from the little cap on the heads, white shirt, white pants, and it was Ray Hurrey and his son Allende, who was about 3, I guess, and another friend, probably one of the guys I met later with Cultural Movement. We talked about that later.
Yeah, probably one of the drummers.
Yeah, I think it was. And I was curious, and I walked up, and Ray Hurrey jumped up, and I said, what is this all about? And he started telling me. I was fascinated.
And he had the drums. He was playing the drums with us.
Yeah, they had some drum. They were sitting kind of cross-legged in the grass.
These drums here, probably these here.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Well, because he then starts explaining how the drum is made.
Okay.
And with the mule skin stretched over it. That's what he told me. Mm-hmm. And the sounds it makes. So interesting to me. And I guess this is the late 70s, and this is a time when, or maybe mid 70s, and this is a time when we're really getting more into other cultures. You've had your hippie period and, bohemian periods, and so this kind of culture, another culture, I should say, from ours here in America, was really interesting to people. It just came at the right time, I think. And so we got to talking, as we say, and I'm a little hazy on what happened next, but Ray and I were friends right away, and I thought the little boy was just darling. I don't know what happened to him, but he was then. And I don't remember at what point I met Anne. But immediately I saw that the group of 3 on the grass could develop into some programs for the Arts Council. I thought, wow, this is great stuff, Mm-hmm. And so I would say that Ray was more the creative engine in this couple, but the wonderful Anne Hurrey was the business mind. Am I accurate? And probably
you're very accurate. And Mom often tells me, she says, I didn't know anything about theater performance. She said, that's all your dad. She said, what I know about theater performance, I just learned from him, but I was more business. You're right on.
Well, she just helped build this up, and of course he drew people in to be in the group, and then dancers, musicians and dancers. And
he had a stage full. That's why I thought this was good too, just to ride. Yes. Saying, and this isn't even all the company at the time, and this is around the time you're talking about, the mid 70s, late 70s. Yeah. It turned into a big company, and you can see Ray there in the front row with the drums, and these 2 guys still, even when he passed away, a lot of these people here still stayed in touch with Mom and helped her with the company.
And I think some of those men really supported her and vice versa to keep the spirit of this thing going.
Yeah.
And to keep it the cultural movement. And I have to really admire Anne, because she just had such a business sense. And she came to see me, and we talked about grants. And one thing I do remember about that period was that we had a lot of federal money at that time. Too bad that went away. But we had this thing called CETA grants, and I was able to help some artists and different companies and things get started. It was just a privilege I had to do that. And so we picked up on that, and Ann and I would sit and write grants for things, for opportunities for the cultural movement to get out there in public and perform. And skipping ahead here, eventually Ann was taking this whole company to Europe with the Air Force. It's amazing what came.
2 world tours with the Department of Defense.
Yes, yeah.
Their entertainment program. Yeah.
And just think the people involved. I mean, our people from here having that experience, and just think of the people on the tour who got to meet. It's just a wonderful thing that happened. So
it was amazing, and it was through, Mom and Dad had such great support from you all. We have to give a shout out to Alice Strickland, because after you left, Alice Strickland stepped right in and gave that same kind of support. Even like you, through my adulthood, like in grad school, like you, the Arts Council, Alice Strickland, it was such an important component for our livelihood, but our survival in the arts. Particularly when all that federal money and the grants money started dying out, you were still there. Alice was still there, providing and making sure we knew of the things to do just to keep afloat. We were lucky and fortunate, but it was like I call it the golden age of African dance, the golden age of the arts, when we had so much grant money. Yeah. I can remember the cultural movement, Margaret, like literally every weekend, we were doing shows somewhere in North Carolina or up and down the East Coast.
Or workshops.
Workshops. During the week, we were in schools. It was amazing, and I miss it. And I wonder if we'll ever get back. There's some kind of way in this digital social media world. I hope so. I hope so.
It was great.
Yeah, because the world, we need the arts. Our kids, our youth, they need the arts, to help them. I believe in that. I believe. So do you remember when Mom and Dad started the cultural movement and how that began? Do you remember that?
Not specifically, but I think that I was involved early on because of the grant writing and all. And I think you'd have to ask your mom about exactly, but I think it would have been in the late 70s by then. And as I say, I think there was the creative side to it and the business side, and that's what made it work.
Right. Hey, do you ever, and I'm curious, do you remember, like, at your working relationship, you and Dad having any conflicts or time when y'all like to?
No.
We're all sensitive artists.
Never. We had a great time. I don't remember. If that happened, it's long gone. I can't imagine. We would meet. He'd be there with the drum. We'd meet at different schools, and it might be a big group of kids in an auditorium, or it might be a smaller classroom. And what we were doing, this is more a throwback to the old English stuff, but I was doing the poetry, like a Carl Sandburg poem, and dancing all around and acting out the poems. And Ray he'd pick up any beat I was on. He could find my beat, or I could find his beat. And then he would have time to tell the kids about the African American or culture. So we just had so much fun. I just thought he was so delightful and such a unique person.
Thank you. It's funny you mentioned that, because the drumming behind your poetry, it's amazing how the universe, so to speak, brings people together, because you were into poetry, and that's what Dad was doing with the Last Poets, playing Conga behind poets. They're considered originators of hip hop.
Right.
In that sense, you have to think of Dad as like the original DJ, and instead of turntables and vinyl records.
Exactly.
He was kind of like the DJ. So for you to say that, that's what he did. And it's funny for you to say how he could pick up on anything, because I've recently talked to a couple of the Last Poets. A couple of the guys are still around, a few of them.
Wow.
A couple of them I still call and I'm friends with. One in particular, And he said the same thing. He said, yo, your dad, if he was feeling you, he'd come right in, no problem. But if he wasn't feeling it, he said he wouldn't bother. So I can imagine how much respect he had for you, you know, individual, as an artist, as a friend.
Well, we just had
Even
that
like-
chemistry,
Yeah.
too. And I was very interested in what he was doing. And I was trying to think of a line from Carl Sandburg, that Jazz Fantasia. You remember that poem? And I'm dancing all around talking about jazz, and and then I stop and I say, hit the music or something like that.
I remember.
And then I'd turn to him, and he'd beat and do all his stuff, just like they do in a jazz band. Different ones come to the.
You remember doing that piece even with Dad, the one that we did in Poetry 180?
Oh yes.
Wow.
I've been doing that Carl Sandburg forever. Of course, he was a North Carolina poet, and so it's one of the first ones that I shared with Ray.
Wow, that's history. I remember that in our Poetry 180, that piece you did. And you did that piece with my father.
Yes, probably several of those pieces. Aha. Well, I should have told you.
That's
the
amazing.
secret's out now.
Yeah, that's no, it's good, Margaret. It's good. Learning things every day. That's why I'm glad it's important you're here, sharing with the world. It's important for us. Do you remember, like, if you had to describe Dad's personality or work ethic, do you remember a lot about it?
Well, I think the personality and the work ethic are one thing in a sense.
Okay.
You know, because he would pour his energy into whatever he was doing. Of course, I didn't know how he was on his day job or how he was socially with friends. Mm-hmm. I just knew him when we were all ignited about the arts.
That's right.
But definitely poured himself into it always.
Like, you don't remember him getting upset a lot. He was just like a
no.
And because y'all were working professionally,
no, he was just a joy to be with. He was just a fun person to be with, a joy to work with. Never did we have such a. I mean, I would share it with you if we did, but we never did. But what I hate to repeat myself, but
no, you're fine.
His energy level was so high, and excitement about what we're doing. How many people do you know who feel that way about anything they did? Just, just turned on to it, mm-hmm. and that would most describe him. And then to know you growing up and how much you are like him, it's been amazing.
That's awesome. That makes it, and that's a through line, Margaret, in a lot of the interviews I'm doing with people. Like, nobody can tell me an ill moment with Dad.
Really?
They say a lot of same things like what you're saying, I mean, I know he wasn't a robot. I know he probably had his moments. Maybe the person who would know more is Mom, but in the community of friends and people, if he was that way, they don't remember it, or it just wasn't him. Yeah. They're saying
he was right. He was one of those people who never met a stranger. You hear that expression, but just.
And I've heard that too. I can remember when we were growing up, Margaret, people were always at our house, dance company members, friends and family. Our house was busy. It was like an art center almost. Really quiet. And then my sister told me in New York, Mom and Dad were the same way when we were living in New York, just always people at the house. So I think he was like a people person, like I said, that's a through line. It's good to hear. Let's look at some photos.
Okay.
Margaret, let's look at some photos, talk about that, rap about some. Now, I pulled some pictures that I thought were cool that, we both relate to, talk about some interesting things. And
oh my gosh.
Stuff here.
Look at that. Look at Colette. She is so cute.
Yep, that's Colette there. This hat, I think Mom said Dad just liked hats. He was a hat dude. Mm-hmm. Whether he was styling with the kufi or just out in the park. That's him and Colette. And that's in New York. My uncle would know specifically which park that was.
He looks like a Russian Cossack. And see that shirt, and that hat. He was pretending to be somebody like we do.
Let me see. Okay, now here's one with you. Okay, this is you right here. Okay, and that's Dad here, and it's like he's teaching.
Oh, that's a great picture of him. That's just the way I remember him.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna move these windows around. Yeah. Getting the beat. Students got the beat Wednesday at 7 Springs Elementary. Okay. As Wayne County Community Arts Council President, Margaret Boothe.
Well, they got that wrong.
Presented
Director.
It was director, not president. Yeah, you see the media. Presented a program on poetry as part of the school's observance of National Education and Book Week. Shown trying out the Congo drums, which they're Congas, so that's another blur, but it's all good.
Conga.
And they list everybody. Wanda Johnson, yeah, and Miss Boothe. Are you Miss Boothe?
Yeah, it was Miss Boothe. I was single. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so okay, you were single here?
Yeah, I think we left that part out, didn't we? When I came to Goldsboro for this job, I was single.
Okay.
And about 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And
then how did you become the Baddour? How did you get on the Baddour train?
Oh my gosh.
When did you film me? It was
I met him after about a year here and as Arts Council Director. And we had different friends who got us together, fixed us up, as we used to say, they fixed us up. And then we got married. He was a widower with 2 little boys. Right. And you know one of them, Mark Baddour, your buddy.
Mark and Phil, yeah. And
so I resigned from my job because suddenly I was the mother of 2, wild little boys.
Family time,
and yet I stayed active in all the arts things in town, No,
that's amazing. Okay, this is a picture at the library, and you see, this is the entrance from the lobby, right here.
Yeah.
And look, there was a sound booth or something here.
Yeah.
Is that still there?
I think so.
I can't remember.
I think it is.
Probably is. But this is it looks like we were doing a show here.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a good wide angle view.
Yeah.
Of the library at the time.
They're having so much fun, aren't they? Just having a ball.
Yeah, you can see it like you can
it's such a good exercise too.
And look, that's Mom. This is Mom here.
Wow.
And this is Colette.
Yeah, beautiful.
And you can't see me, but I'm directly behind Colette with a stick in my hand right there. But she's blocking me, upstaging me as always. That is a better shot. You can probably see this clear now that I'm sharing my screen. That's the same photo that's on TV here.
Yeah.
And that is the stage, or what used to be the stage at the Wayne County Public Library. And there's me, Helen, and McCall. I thought it'd be cute.
That's my daughter.
Yeah, that's old Helen. This was
and McCall.
Sunday in the Park, I think in 2016.
Uh-huh.
And McCall and I were drumming for you. We would go around the park and drum. Yeah. And so I thought it'd be cute to put some of these throwbacks in there. And there, me, you, and McCall.
that was a Wayne County Reads.
Yes. All right. The Wayne County Reads. So it wasn't like a refurbished Sunday in the Park.
Well, it was on a smaller scale than the Sunday in the Park. And it was something our Goldsboro Writers Group did. And we all played characters out of children's books. And had the best time with kids just walking up to what's going on in the park. Just walk up and see Dr. Seuss or something. That's a great picture. I'd love to have that with the guys.
I'll forward it to you. I'll email it to you.
I'd love to have it. I don't think.
There you are again with McCall. And that's the drum he was playing. We were going around.
Wow.
He loves you to death. You've also been a great support to McCall.
I hope he's still doing fine.
He is in the military and has a son that is like,
my gosh,
right under a year old. Right under a year. He's married, and I think he's in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. Military man, and doing well.
Good.
Let me see. Now here's the article I was talking about. I see the arts here. Can you see it as I zoom it? It's all good?
Yeah.
Like as I blow it up, you're seeing it blow up? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, great. Yeah, the arts. And I think this was about Sunday in the Park. I think my mom has it highlighted.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, Community Arts Council, rock, jazz, country bands. And it's naming a lot of the groups here that I thought was cool.
Right. The Buck Swamp Kick and Cloggers were very similar to the cultural movement in that they were just getting organized when we had the windfall of that federal money, you know, and they were a dance group, and it was another kind of culture, you know.
Right.
And you know, all of these, yeah, were given a chance.
W.J. Wilkins. And that's what was cool about you, giving artists a chance at a time when the arts were flourishing, or, I mean, really,
True.
you were doing it whether the arts were flourishing or not, which is why you have so much respect there in the community, in the world. Like, your family's amazing.
Well, you're very kind.
Oh, yeah. I mean it. It's Bluegrass View. Let me see. Nurture Black Barbershop Quartet.
Yeah.
And then cultural movement there.
Yeah.
And do you know, let me see, the 1982 Sunday in the Park will be, so this is 82.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a family thing. Lee Brown. Was Lee Brown red-haired? Red? That was Lee, right?
Yeah. A tall, willowy woman with red hair who was a leader in the arts. When I got here in 76, she was the established leader in the arts and did a lot of good things in the community.
I faintly remember Lee Brown. Yeah, I think she was good people for it. My mom would know better, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
And move right along. We're almost done, Margaret. We're almost done. I know it's Friday night. Happy Friday. You see me representing the North Carolina shirt, you know, the Tar Heel shirt. You see me represent. I know your family is avid fans of the Tar Heels, though I've never been much into sports. But I'm sporting this for you. This is for the Baddours here, and for the North Carolina representation.
Right. Good.
Let me see. Your best memory of Dad. Like one of them, you know, your best one.
I think that the one is we're on the floor in one of the schools in Wayne County. We're not up on the stage. We're on the floor where we can reach out to the kids better. And you know, he's drumming and I'm dancing around doing jazz fantasia or one of those poems, and just having the best time. That's probably a composite of many times.
Of
but
course,
like
that's
the picture,
one that stands out.
Yeah, the picture from the Mount Olive paper shows that same thing where we're, you know, reaching out to the kids and explaining the instruments and just having a good time.
That's good. That's good. Well said. Do you? Yeah, I'll skip that. I think you've kind of hit that one. It was a question about just Dad's passing. Like, do you remember what it was like for the family?
Yeah.
You know, I know you did the eulogy, but I mean, I could probably just get your answer for that.
Well, my family was very affected by it because my younger son, Mark, was so close to you, you know, and for you to lose your dad, and he was so young and vibrant, you know, it was a very difficult time for your family, of course. Just doesn't seem fair to lose a great guy like that so young.
Because Mark and I was at St. Mary then, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I was in the second grade when Dad passed.
Probably.
You know what? I can remember Mark being incredibly supportive, though. And I don't say that lightly or just because you're here. I remember a moment vaguely, because all my friends at the school were checking on me. But Mark and I were close, and I could tell he cared, He might not remember. We remember different things about, people in our lives. But I remember Mark checking on me at that time, even though it was second grade. I'm not just saying it.
That's so sweet. I can also remember directing you and Mark in Sherlock Holmes.
The legendary Sherlock Holmes play.
The math teacher, Ms. Price, brought me in as a volunteer to to direct this play. And were y'all about 9 years old, you think?
Yeah.
And Mark and Allende would get tickled and laugh and roll around on the floor during rehearsals,
breaking
laughing.
character, huh? We were breaking
and they had written, finally they didn't know their lines, but they were having the best time. And then finally they came in with the lines all written on their hands and cuffs of their shirts and arms, and they were just incorrigible. They were so bad, and not bad actors, just badly behaved.
Me and Mark were messed together.
I told Miss Price, I said, I will have nothing more of this. And I walked out. The director walked out. You didn't know that. You forgot that.
I faintly remember.
And then there was no director, and the play was to be 2 days later or something. But it's very hard to direct your own child, you know, your own son.
And you know what? It's funny. It's so funny you mentioned that. I told my wife about it. You know, that's a classic story with us, you know, the Sherlock Holmes play. But Margaret, I think the funny thing about that play, when we finally did it, no one recorded it with the audience there, if I remember correctly. So we had to do it again, but with no audience. So the recording you have, me and Mark were really clowning, like, because we didn't have our friends and peers there. So we're just having fun. I remember that. Someone did not.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to do it again.
Well, Miss Price came to see me and begged me to come back, of course. It's all very dramatic. And so I came back.
You dropped
at the last minute.
Okay.
I did come back, but okay. I was so fed up with y'all.
Wow. I faintly remember that moment now that you mention it. But if you wouldn't have mentioned it, I would have remembered.
We didn't say that you
were really getting on your nerves.
You were, we didn't even say this, that you were Sherlock Holmes and Mark was Dr. Watson. And I can just see you all in these little, I don't know where they got these little tweed coats, you know, like little English people with little tweed coats and ties. And
that would be an awesome video to have a copy of.
I wish we had that.
Yeah, Maureen Price, her and I are still in contact on Facebook. Lynn Magoon is good. She has been good in the past few years with still giving me work where I have an opportunity to go work with the St. Mary kids. You know, always a lot of great support, even to this day, from St. Mary for the family. So it's good. You know, that tradition of education is still going on. Like I said, she'll give me work if I'm in town. It's good. It's good people. Let me see. Okay, and finally, last one. This is one that was not on the list I gave you, but if Dad if he was to ring your doorbell right now and just pop up on you, what would your ideal day with Dad be like? If he were to suddenly knock on the door, hey Margaret, what would you want to do for a day with Dad?
I think we'd just start jamming right away, just jamming, you know.
You say, where's the drum?
Pull the drum out and we'd just be going for it just all day.
That's all right.
Maybe we'd go to the park and do it outside.
Outside. That would be good. Like how and where you met, outside of the park. Yeah. That would be full circle, I guess. So jamming and drumming would be your first inclination. Not conversation, but movement and that connection to the heart.
Yeah, I think that would be our relationship, you know, to jump right into those arts things, you know.
That's good. Well, that's all I have, Margaret. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
It's so much fun and meaningful to talk about Ray and talk about him with you. And you've become such a part of our lives. And I'll be sure that Mark, my son Mark, sees this show.
Indeed. Indeed. And, whole family.
And we're very proud of you and all your theater degrees and everything you've accomplished. All over the country. You went to schools, Florida, and what was the other one?
New York, North Carolina. Now I'm in New York City. I was in DC for a stint. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate, Margaret, to have such a strong base of support like you, other people who have helped me along the way. you want to talk about team effort. I believe that's what my journey has been about, what it's about, and I just try to give back how I can. You know,
But you've also become, I mean, when you want to be, you've become a leader like your parents have been. So I think that's something to attain, to be a leader who stimulates more things to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's all I know how to do, Margaret. I don't know why. I don't know if it was my upbringing or it's just something that's in me or a little of both, and it's okay. But I have a blast with it. I enjoy it, whatever I'm supposed to do, and however I'm supposed to give back. I'm ready and willing. Yeah, and still willing to learn. You know, it's a constant.
Right.
You know, just recognizing we're not going to know it all. We're not going to always have the answers, but we do what we can. That's what I believe. So doing this for Dad is like, I could easily say, yeah, it's overdue, but it's not. I believe everything is right on time. And I'm taking advantage of this quote unquote downtime with COVID to do things like this, which it's what I've been wanting to do for years. And the funny thing is I wanted to do it in like a documentary kind of style. But I guess I was like, man, with the power of social media, things like YouTube, you'll tell Dad's story in an informal documentary type. And it's okay.
Yeah, it's great. Well, this series you've organized is part of the journey. It really is.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop this, but we can still chit chat for a minute.
Okay.
And